Pastor Hannah, tell us a little bit about how do you get called to being a youth pastor at your church?
I did not have a break in the clouds, sky opens, it's written on,
Trumpets were sounding.
Yeah, the trumpets sounding. This is your purpose in life. You're going to do this. I did not have that. I didn't have that type of a moment when I got called into pastoral ministry. It was
picture like this golden staircase appearing and like
right, and the
Jesus
words are spelled
down.
out in the clouds. Yeah, something super dramatic. No, that was not how it happened for me. Mine was more progressive. Mine actually started when I was 16 years old, after I got baptized in the Holy Spirit with evidence of speaking in tongues. That's when it really started for me. After that happened, God had just given me such a boldness to go and witness to the kids at my high school. I would see kids in the morning because I would always get there super early to pray with one of my teachers who was a Christian at the time. And she still is to this day. Shout out to Mrs. Gettridge. I would get there early to pray before school, and I would see kids sitting by themselves, and a lot of those kids who were sitting by themselves, I didn't know who they were, but I would go in and I would sit down and I would talk to them. And a lot of these kids, some of them didn't even want to talk to me, but what I found was a lot of these kids were depressed, or they were anxious, and they were cutting, and there was self-harm, and some of them were on drugs, and they came from bad home lives, and just hearing and seeing their hurt really, really kind of just broke my heart for my own generation, but yet the generation of youth. And so I would say that was the start of my calling to youth ministry.
How long have you been a youth pastor?
I have been a youth pastor since July 2022, so about a year, but I've been working in youth ministry since I was 18, so about 6 years.
And what is the name of the youth ministry that you're part of?
City Youth.
City Youth, nice. And guys, we'll be putting all of that description down below in the video description. I think it's going to be really interesting. I'm actually a leader as of the youth right now as well, and we're able to collaborate together and working with a lot of the youth. But it's really, really fun because a lot of the youth that we do work with, they're very diverse. They're very crazy sometimes.
Yes.
But they're really, really fun. And I think we have a lot of activities going on. We have actually a back to school bash, right, coming up in September. So I think that's going to be really fun. We'll also put that information down below. And I think there's a lot of similarities, but also a lot of differences between being a youth pastor and also a private school Christian teacher.
Yes.
But in the midst of all of that, what is one of the funniest things you ever witnessed?
In youth ministry or in...
Either one.
In the classroom. Okay. Oh boy. So there's two. I'll do the youth ministry one. Mind you, we've had a lot of funny instances, and what I find funny, some people will not, but for me, it was like one of those like barreling over, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. We were playing a game called Spud, and it's where somebody's and you have to hit them with a ball or something like that. And there was this one kid, he really just wasn't feeling it, and he didn't really want to be a part of the game, but he like was kind of dropping an attitude a little bit. And one of my other youth leaders, he's really tall, he is not really intimidating, he's kind of soft-spoken, but it's like, don't mess with him kind of thing. And he was kind of targeting one of my leaders during the game. And so one of my leaders, it's finally his turn to get it, and the first person that he targets to throw the ball at is this other kid.
Oh my gosh.
And I was telling him, I was like, you need to be nice. And he was like, I'm going to be nice. I'll be nice. He throws it straight at the kid, and it hits the kid in his abdomen, and all you hear is,
oh my gosh.
Everybody started laughing so hard because it was just the sound effect that the poor kid made. And he tried not to act like it hurt, but you could tell he was in pain. And I yelled at my leader. I was like, why'd you do that? And he was like, he needed it. And I was like, what do you mean he needed it? So that was one of the like, oh gosh, you just had to be there for it. But then one of the ones in classroom, I'm very, very squeamish. Like, if I see blood, I will pass out. Like, done deal, don't call me if somebody's dying, because I'll die right next to them. One of my kids, I always told them, because 4th grade, you're losing teeth. I tell them all the time, Mrs. Carreras is very squeamish. If you're going to lose a tooth, if you have a bloody nose, if you have anything like that, tell me and go straight to the nurse. Do not show me, because you know how kids are like, oh, look at this, like, lint between my toes. Like, they want to show you everything.
Right.
So there was this one time I was teaching, and one of my kids raised his hand, and I said, yes, what's up? And he goes, Mrs. Carreras, and I say, what? And he goes, spits his tooth into his hand and goes, I lost my tooth. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. I was like, get out of my classroom, go to the nurse. and everybody starts dying laughing because they're like, are you going to throw up? Are you going to pass out? And it's like, if you don't show me, I'll be okay. And he thought it was the funniest thing. Mind you, this kid did not have to do that. He could have just been like, covered his mouth, Mrs. Carreras, I'm going to lose my tooth. No, he spat it out in his hand and like had to show me. So, yeah.
Well, thank you, Pastor Hannah. And for those of the people that are watching, do you have any contact info where they can reach you at, maybe like an email, a phone number, or anything like that? If people have any questions about youth ministry, I know that you're a youth pastor here in Beverly, Massachusetts, but also for those that are pondering putting their kids in a private Christian school in Lowell.
Yeah, so my email address is capital HANNAH @gardencitychurch.net.